as well. So we are at the hour, so let's officially begin. For those of you that don't know me, I am B Byrne, and I am the host of Quilt and Learn, as well as the founder, and so it's wonderful to be here with all of you today. The purpose of this next hour is just for us to chat, really, and sew together. If you're working on one of the sew along purses, then that's fabulous. And don't forget that you can win an Aliso iron and an Olfa bundle, which consists of rotary cutter and blades and cutting board and ruler and all sorts of things. But the Aliso iron, I have to admit, is the one that I'm very excited to be giving away, even though I don't own one myself yet. One day. But anyway, if anybody wants to unmute and chat along or to show us what they're working on, then you're very welcome. Just a reminder that this session's being recorded. And so you're agreeing to appear on YouTube effectively by joining today. And of course, we're also live streaming at the moment on Facebook, which is very exciting. So hello, there's a couple of names I recognize from yesterday and from earlier sessions. How is everyone doing? Excellent, excellent. There's some smiles there. Hello, hello. Well, the project that I've got to work on today, it isn't actually the Sew Powerful bag, because that's the purse. That would need my sewing machine, and I thought it would be a bit noisy. So I had promised during a podcast interview with Quilter on Fire that my hexagon evolution pattern would be ready to be released and would be given as a bonus for VIPs during this event. Now, unfortunately, it turns out that I didn't quite give myself enough time to finish the pattern, but I am hoping to have it done within the next couple of weeks, and I am going to send it out to VIPs retrospectively for them to claim. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I've got a whole load of paper hexagons for English paper piecing, and so I've got some purples to make a sample in an alternative size, because I had the original, which was a kind of bed quilt, but I'm making the sample in more of a baby quilt size. Because of course the great thing with English paper piecing is you can change the size of things just by changing the size of the pieces. You don't need to change the design or the number of blocks or anything like that. So I think the original was done with 2.5-inch hexagons, whereas which is the bed size one, and the baby quilt one is just 1-inch hexagons. So it's still perfectly manageable, but the same pattern for both. What's everyone else working on? Jane, I can see you there flipping something there, and you got your needle. What's all of that?
Hi, I'm finally getting to quilt this. It's I call it unicorn poop because we all know that unicorns poop rainbows, right?
Absolutely.
So there it is.
Oh,
So I gotta get
wow.
back further.
Let me
How's
just
that?
spotlight you there so we can see
Oh,
it. Oh,
there we go.
that's lovely, isn't it?
So the blocks are, I'll show you a close-up of one.
Mm.
The little blocks are almost the whole thing, except for the dark blue border, is pieced from one fabric. I can't remember the name of it, but it went with a unicorn panel, and I had made a quilt for my granddaughter. And then the background of the unicorn panel was this kind of celestial rainbow thing. So it had all these different colors in it. And of course, I had bits and bobs left over. So I crumb pieced these little blocks, didn't know what I was going to do with them. And then I still had some more of this rainbow cosmic pattern. And that's what I used for the sashing. And I just kind of paid attention to the darks and the lights and the colors in the sashing. So I get this nice kind of green sweep through the center that's made with the sashing. And after looking at it for quite a while, I just decided I am going to stitch in the ditch on the inside of each block. Sometimes I make these little quilts, and I just feel like I love the way the fabric looks. I don't want to clutter it with
Yeah,
quilting.
no, I can understand that. Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on.
Beautiful. And do you have does it have a home already? Like, does it have an intake?
No, it doesn't. It's small. It's maybe 2 feet square.
Yeah. Oh,
So I
wow.
really like this one. So if I give it to anyone, it will stay in the family, I think.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, someone.
Possibly my granddaughter, who's unfortunately she outgrew unicorns. She's into dragons now. So she's not going to get another quilt till she goes off to college when she really knows what she likes. But I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet.
My 5-year-old niece is currently, she's so into unicorns, although she calls
Hmm.
them all Donald. So they're not unicorns, they're Donalds. And this dates back to some misunderstanding when she was a baby. But it's never been corrected just because it's so funny. But she told me the other day that she was going to be a princess artist when she grew up.
Oh,
She's always been quite determined to be a princess, but is now also exploring other career opportunities. I guess she kind of sees the modern royals in the UK and sees that some of them have their side gigs and so on. Oh, fantastic. Okay, well that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
thank you.
that. Does anyone else want to share what they've got in progress? I see Pat and Willie and LJ on the iPhone as well. If anybody wants to share, there's no pressure, but you can, of course, if you want to. And Cindy and Jessica and CJ as well. LJ, it looks like you
I'm
might be
just mending.
there. Oh, there's Jessica. Wonderful. Hello.
I'm trying to turn off this whatever.
Oh, right. Okay. There we go. That's fine.
Ah,
Are you trying to change the camera to?
no, I'm trying to get rid of this reminder that's going off and I don't see where it
Oh,
is and
oh,
it's
how annoying.
singing. Okay, hello. No, I'm not trying to, I was doing the moving thing so I could find it, but
Hmm.
so that's why I was moving you around.
And have you got a project that you're working on at the moment?
Oh, I'm mending.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah, I'm mending my daughter's rather new sheet that the dog chunk. So I'm doing some pretty embroidery with some of my elegance pearl cotton.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
Ah,
because I was wondering whether you might be doing some of the almost like sashiko style slow stitching mending that I think
well, I
Celeste has
did.
a workshop on today.
That will be the other spot because this first spot is just getting small enough for embroidery stitches.
Hmm.
And the other piece, I'm making a patch. I've got a piece of fabric and I've already determined since it's a floral sheet, I'm going to do one of the motifs in the middle and make
Oh,
a
nice.
patch because see, I would have been all set to just start doing sew the patch on and do it, but then after seeing what I saw yesterday and then digging further last night, I
Mhm.
decided, oh, you can make the patch and then sew it, and that'd be a lot easier on a sheet.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I know it's always amazing the little gems you pick up during these workshops, even if the workshop topic is something that you
Oh,
know pretty well. There's often
yeah,
a little like, oh, I hadn't thought of doing it that way
yeah.
that comes
So,
along. Um,
so
yeah.
I did a deep
So,
dive into the sashiko thing last night, and my husband's out of town until tomorrow night, so I've been having, fun. And I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and I was on it again.
wow. Okay.
Until I
Well,
went back to sleep until 9.
oh, that's rough. Oh, hello. My cat is.
That's very unusual. But anyway. Ah,
Oh, well, wonderful. I think, I guess I was reading an article yesterday about things that are said to be dying out with each
uh-huh.
generation. And there's all sorts of things because like my niece is like just grew up with the internet, of course, as I'm sure many of you have children and grandchildren that have done that as well, and other relatives. But there's, I think mending was one of the ones that was mentioned, that the current generation, which I think is Gen Alpha, but I think it was even before that, Gen X, which are they
The
the same
millennials
generation?
were before
Yeah.
the,
One, it fairly soon, mending is said to be something that's just going to die out because people, it's so easy just to buy another one.
well, but then there's this big thing with some young people that are repurposing and going to Goodwill and buying clothes to repurpose or to to cut up and make a quilt with.
Yeah.
And then I understand from what I read last night that in Japan, it's like the mending or doing this boro uh, approach
Yeah.
is very much in right now in
Oh,
Japan.
is it? Interesting. Because
Yes.
I was listening to Patty Climate
Uh-huh.
about it in her trunk show that she did.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fascinating, and also the kind of in the storytelling panel discussion as well,
Mm-hmm.
and all those things are available on the live page on the YouTube channel. But I didn't realize it was in with the kids, as it were.
Well, the younger generation and and I guess Celeste was it Celeste had even said that she's taught family members how to do this? Was that
Mm,
her that said that?
yeah. I think I'm not rough enough with my clothes. I keep wanting to have some jeans to patch,
Uh-huh.
and it seems to be they go at the butt rather than on the knees or anything. So I'm
Well,
obviously,
you can make some cute things for your derriere.
well, yeah, but I think I don't, because I don't have a garden or children, so I
Uh-huh.
don't kneel very much. So I
Well,
need to do more kneeling.
go snowboarding when you can wear jeans.
Oh, okay. Does that, I imagine
I
that
don't
would
know.
do some
I would
damage.
think rough stuff.
Yeah.
No, I concluded that because I had like an accumulation of 2 years of mending, and I have concluded that night clothes seem to wear out faster than other things. Because I had favorite nightgowns and whatnot that, I mean, I had more pajama and nightgown items in this basket than any other article of clothing.
Now, interesting. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's because, well, I guess it depends how much you move around at night, but also, I suppose, like a good pair of pajamas is just so comfortable,
Oh,
and
I know.
good night dress or something. And so it's really like worth investing
Yes.
in them and spending time on them.
So, but it,
Interesting.
yeah. And so anyway, but I think too, you spend at least a third of your life, maybe if you
Right?
sleep enough in them. And then sometimes, for example, husband's out of town. I have been in my pajamas till 3:30 in the afternoon twice this week. Hey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And didn't go anywhere because we had so much snow. So,
No,
you
that's
can wear them
fabulous.
out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just making sure I haven't left anyone in the
Oh,
waiting
hanging.
room. I haven't. I think that's wonderful. And we've got, I guess, Carol, I can see you there with this amazing, is that a log cabin, like a hexagon log cabin or a pineapple? I can't quite see. What's the
It's
pattern in that quilt behind you?
it's a pineapple. I made it. It's my Maine Coon cat. I don't know if you can
Oh, let
see
me
all of it.
deep spotlight you so that
Oh,
you can go, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
So you've got the cat shape, but you've actually got the cat fabrics as well.
Well, yes, and we
Oh,
buy cat fabric, and it was a Maine Coon, and it had white inner ears, so I did that.
I that's fabulous. Did you create this yourself, or is this from a pattern?
It was myself.
Wow.
Just it's all pineapple blocks though, so it was pretty easy.
Well, you say that the first time I just thank you for sharing that with us. But the first time I made a pineapple block was a bit of a rude awakening because it was the first time I realized that 1/4 inch feet aren't always actually a 1/4 of an inch. And the woman that was teaching the class was her method was like you had to be very precise on these things, and I was fractionally off. But I would never occur to me to design something using the inner pieces of a pineapple block. Yeah, I love that. That's fabulous.
Thank you.
Colors as well. I am also someone that tends to buy cat fabrics. And I have a little stash of them, even though I don't know what I'm going to use them for. I kind of tell myself that at some point I will make a big cat quilt. And I did make a kind of improv one based on my cat's eye, because she only has one eye. She's not in residence at the moment. But she was feral before she came to live with me, and obviously had quite an exciting time of it, or unfortunately exciting time of it, and only had one eye and was pregnant when she was captured for like trap neuter release type program. And so they had to wait for her to have her kittens before they could neuter her, and then they operated to clean up whatever had happened to her eye, and then put her up for adoption, because you can't release a one-eyed cat back into the wild. That wouldn't be very fair. So yeah, and then she came to live with me. So I've always thought that she had this like mystical, piratical quality about her. I am absolutely one of those cat lady people that, I talk to my cat. It was actually her birthday on Thursday. I got her a chicken, a rotisserie chicken, which she's been very upset about not being able to eat all of. So she's still eating some of it today. But yes, I love cat quilts, always have.
We rescue hedgehogs, so the European hedgehogs. So I love hedgehog fabric,
Oh, how
and I'm
cute.
fascinated whenever I meet anyone from UK where they're running wild, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whereabouts are you?
South Carolina.
And are there a lot of hedgehogs in South Carolina?
They're not in the wild because we're below freezing.
Oh,
And the Asian hedgehogs, the African hedgehogs that people have as pets, they hibernate. If it's below freezing, they can't get themselves out. So that's why we're a rescue. Kids get the hedgehogs and they don't want them because they're prickly and solitary and nocturnal.
yeah, not really a sensible pet at all.
No.
For anyone really, but a child especially. Um, oh, how funny. Yes, I have seen more people having hedgehogs and things as pets. And I've certainly, when I was growing up, there would be occasions where we'd have hedgehogs in the garden. We had this huge, it was a complete nightmare, really. It was like this huge gooseberry bush.
Mm.
And it had massive spikes on it, and it was kind of proactively aggressive, this bush. It seemed to kind of leap out at you whenever you walk past. But it made a great place for the hedgehogs to kind of nest underneath. And one year we had a whole family of them, and I can remember, because back then, of course, we didn't know, and so there was the fairy tale idea that you put out milk and bread for them, which of course is not good for them at all. And I think it's cat food or something you're supposed to give them because they're carnivores. But yes, it was quite fascinating because they're such strange little things. It's so odd. I think those kind of animals that are all covered in spikes are it's just fascinating.
So
And
cute.
they're tiny little faces and little feet. But yes, oh well, how lovely. How often do you get one? Or do you have a lot of
We
them? Or
we have three right now.
oh,
There are rescues that people donate them to, and they live between 4 and 7 years. So we're always got a few. and there's hedgehog fabrics, and I love to put hedgehogs in quilts.
So sweet. And do they live together? Are they communal?
No, they are they're solitary,
Oh,
except for food. They would fight to the death, and males and females would mate incessantly. So we keep them all by themselves in cages.
oh my goodness, what a kerfuffle. But oh, well done for stepping up and doing that. Oh, amazing. Who else we got? LJ, you're here with us. Are you working on anything at the moment? I don't know if you're able to talk. Don't worry if you're not. But if you want to unmute, you certainly can. Oh, we've got another two people in the waiting room. There we go.
There.
Oh, there you are,
That's
LJ.
right, Ann.
Sorry.
Hi. I actually was working on lunch. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it is the
I
time.
want
But
some.
right now I'm just working on watching all the videos for today and taking notes and that type of thing. Just really
Mhm.
enjoying and absorbing it all. So
There's so many good workshops every day.
yes.
I was just downloading some of the VIP downloads because it sounds ridiculous, but I often forget to
Oh
download
yeah,
them for myself
I can
and
imagine.
find that the dedeadline has passed, and I'm like,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
with that one.
Yes.
Yes, so I was just snagging some of those just now. Have you had a favorite workshop that's come up?
Goodness. I'm in the middle of the freezer paper piecing,
Mhm.
and I've always wanted to learn how to do that. In fact, I'd made the comment that I bought freezer paper a little while back and just
I
didn't know
saw
how to
that.
use it.
Yeah.
And I've only been quilting for about 3 years.
Mhm.
And so all of this is kind of new. So I'm really excited. That one, I'm really excited. I ran off copies and I'm making notes, and, I really want to give that a whirl and see if I can't do that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I think because I've had a number of friends who have got really into it. And in fact, oh, two people entered the waiting room. Sorry, let me just sort this out. Oops, one of them is a woman called Barb Strick, who won Best in
I
Show at
need to get
QuiltCon
you off
last
of
year.
here.
Sorry, what was that? What did you say, LJ?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh,
Somebody
sorry.
else said something.
I
Sorry,
said,
I
I
missed.
need to get you off of here, which it might be it's a cat.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she is a great fan of, oh, I've forgotten her name now. Is it Nancy Crow? Who is, this is a rather long-winded way of getting back to paper piece and foundation baking parchment and so on, freezer paper. But yeah, she has used the freezer paper techniques to great effect with her quilts. And she was just announced as QuiltCon's Best in Show, just as
Wow.
in fact, it was 2 years ago now. It was a quilt called Bullseye, I seem to remember. But she was also the featured exhibitor, a featured artist at the San Francisco Quilt Show, which was happening like a month or two after QuiltCon. So she just got the quilts back in time to be able to put them on display in the San Francisco show.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, that was very exciting.
The other one I really enjoyed that kind of gave me some confidence was the scraps, because I don't enjoy like busy scrappy. That's just, I have, yeah, I like to be able to have my eyes land. And she was teaching how you can actually use your scraps and still create that. And I really enjoyed that. It's,
Ali is such an interesting woman as
yeah.
well. You know, her whole background, she used to work on an oil rig as an engineer. And I can't remember, was she a chemical engineer? I can't remember whether she was chemical or mechanical now, but
I think it was
um,
mechanical, she said.
right. So and then, you know, to kind of go from New Zealand to the oil
No.
rigs around the world and then end up in Italy.
Oh,
It's yeah, it's a fantastic story, and she's got such an eye for color and
yes.
design.
And she was talking about don't be afraid,
yeah,
she's not trained in color, but you can still do color, where I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody will look at it and say, well, that's not on the color wheel, so it's just like I can let that go. Don't need to worry about that.
I can definitely relate to that. I've had very little confidence in my color choices over the years, often for good reason.
Yep.
But I was talking about this in the trunk show yesterday. There's a technique where you kind of take an image and you pick colors from the image, because then you know that they look right together. I was talking about an image I'd done with a tulip. But the first time I did it, I don't know if it was part of a workshop. I don't know if I kind of missed one of the steps or something, wasn't paying attention, but I didn't get the range of values right. And so I ended up with a kind of unimpressive quilt. Wasn't terribly happy with it. But this time I feel like I paid much more attention. I've actually got a piece of red perspex that I will look at the fabrics through.
Yes. I just got one of those.
Yeah,
So I'm excited to help you
such a difference.
It's amazing.
It's not always obvious just
No.
looking at them, what the different values are. So I definitely thought that was a big step forward, to get a big piece of red plastic to look through. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Oh, well, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together. I've enjoyed it.
No problem. Yeah, no, it's the third one, and I feel like the format is kind of more or less there now. The first two was a little bit buggy, and there were a lot of hoops to jump through. You have to go here, click on that, and do this. But this time I think we're definitely getting towards a permanent template, or permanentation, I guess.
Yeah. I liked your email today that sort of had the summary of everything and where to click on it. Was very appreciative. I appreciated that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so difficult because, of course, some people hate getting more than one email about something, and some people, you send them 10 emails and they haven't read any of them, and then they saying that they don't know. So
but during the workshop, it's super handy, like to have something like that daily, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And then we've also got Willie with us as well, Willie Rickson, or Rixon. How are you doing?
I am fine. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. And whereabouts are you?
Well, I live I'm in Southern Ontario, Canada.
Nice.
Very close to Woodstock, Ontario. And I have not been quilting all that long. I did do a jaunt of it when my children were small, but that just became too much. And then I retired from my work, and then I decided I was going to take this up again. And my problem is I'm into too many things.
Oh, yeah.
I like painting, but I put that aside. I also like knitting. And so I have all these large intentions. And I do get to some of them, and other ones I think I'm never going to be old enough to finish them all.
I definitely can relate to that. I always think of myself as an omni-crafter, because I will quite happily pick up pretty much any craft. I think, do you have any strategies for deciding which one, or are you kind of stuck not doing any of them because there's so many?
Well, there are a few I need to finish off, not too many. I've got 3 of them to finish off. And one in particularly, it was a wall hanging that I just kind of started on, and I'd had a piece of fabric that looked like asphalt. And I had all these wee tiny little pieces, and I sewed them all together, and then I cut out some maple leaves, and I did some applique on that, and then I hung it up, and I thought, oh, I don't have that as straight as what I'd like to have it. So then one of the things that I heard someone say the other day was they put it on canvas, and I thought, you know what? My husband is very good with wood. and he makes frames, and he does all kinds of things. I thought, I'm going to have this framed, and then I'll be able to get it as straight as what I need to, because I'll just have to wrap it around the back and then be done with that, even though fall is gone. But
It will come back again though. You can
yeah,
always be sure
hopefully,
there'll be another one.
yes.
Or
Well,
you could do a series and do 3 more in other seasons because they change colors. And
I
then you could
could.
make a panel.
Well, then I need more walls to hang them up on. I have done several quilts. I did a t-shirt quilt for my husband, and I kind of put this together myself without really following any instructions, and I made it, I'm not sure what you call them, dimensional. So I had the black on the sides of them, and
oh
he had
no.
all these t-shirts he wasn't wearing anymore because he used to own 3 old Mustangs, like from the early Mustangs.
Oh wow.
And so there were pictures on there, and I got them all cut out. But then it's a learning process when you're trying to put this together, and you realize, okay, you've got to balance this, and you've got just some small pictures and some big ones. So then you just have to work it all in. But it turned out okay.
It is. It's definitely not easy. I currently have a whole load of my niece's baby clothes from 2 different nieces, and my sister handed them all to me and was like, here you go, make one of those quilts. And I was like, okay. But she's since changed her mind, and she's decided she wants a very traditional pattern, which I just printed out.
Oh, I'd love to see that, because
Well,
my daughter-in-law wants the same thing now.
it's called American Stars, and it's from a book called Modern One Block Quilts, which I just had, I guess, digitally for some reason. Let me just spotlight this and see if I can. Where are we? Here we go. Oh, look, it's
Okay.
blurry. Put it on my head. There we go. So it's a fairly traditional pattern there with the stars and the blocks and things. And I think there's something like 31 different blocks and then a whole load of half blocks as well, because it's on point. What amazes me is the thing is going to be mostly white,
Oh,
which I don't make white quilts, apart from anything else. I'll probably drop my dinner on it and get chocolate on it and the cat fur and all the rest of it.
well,
So,
it's better than black.
well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so she's given me a lot of predominantly white baby clothes, and she wants this for her bedroom. So
Wow.
all right then. It's your thing. Oh, previously she told me that she thought she had enough quilts. So I was surprised to get a request for another one. But what can you do? If someone asks you for one,
Yes.
then it's rather a pleasure to be asked.
Well, my family's really not into quilts. My daughter-in-law had told me that she really didn't like quilts, but she is the girl that's turned around this past year and asked me if I could make a quilt of the baby clothes she has saved,
Yeah.
which really was, I love that. Because it also shows that we all change. We all look at things differently throughout life, and so there's hope for the rest of them.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but because of my lack of personal experience, but just from having seen other people, like I think motherhood changes people a lot as
It
well. And so
does.
you become suddenly sentimental about these tiny little clothes that this hulking great teenager was once waddling
Right.
around in.
Yes.
My sister has always been quite the fashionista and very stylish, very into her makeup and so on, a complete opposite of me. So I knew that when the babies came along that she would make sure that they were like not fashionably dressed, but like fun dressed, and she'd have like all the crazy prints and fun things. So there's some really sweet little onesies and so on. But sewing with jersey fabric is not my favorite thing to do, you know.
No.
It's I've got to sew into iron interfacing onto all of it before I can even cut it out. So yeah, it's quite a lot of work to get something like that going.
It is.
How long did
It's,
your t-shirt quilt take you?
oh my goodness. Well, between all the rest of the stuff that I've been doing, because I like working outside in my flower beds.
Mm.
So summertime is not a good time. I think it probably took me a couple of years. It took me, it, I'm one of these people that has to think about things first before I
Mm.
can think, okay, now I've got my head together and I think I know what I'm going to do with this. So I think that was the problem to get started with it. And once I got going, it was fine. Um, I hang it up downstairs in our family room, and
Oh,
sometimes it
lovely.
comes down. And my husband has been making a couple of I'm not sure what you call them. They're like racks that swing out from the wall that you can hang quilts on.
Oh, that's a good
And
idea.
yes, and I love the idea, but he's come up with a bit of a problem in it, so I have to wait for him to fix that up. So I'll be able to hang a few of them up. I have made baby quilts that I belong to a group at our church where we make things for missions, and I tend to knit those because for
Mm.
just 2 hours I find it too cumbersome to carry my sewing machine with me, and especially when everyone else is either crocheting or knitting, but I enjoy the knitting as well.
Yeah, I've usually got some knitting on the go, and when it comes to blankets, I do tend to prefer crochet just because of how much faster they go. And I've got, oh, maybe I took it into the other room, but it was cooler here the last few weeks. Of course, Oakland is, I think it's like 19 degrees today, at the Celsius, of course. But yeah, it's back to pretty much full strength already. But it did drop down to sort of 5 degrees at night for a few days, and yeah, it's nice to have a little snuggly blanket to
Oh, it
cover up
is.
the.
It is. I'd like to try making, and I've seen them on Pinterest. They're things that people can, it's like almost like a jacket, but not for people in retirement homes. And there's some really nice ideas there because as we get older, we all tend to get a little bit colder.
Mm.
And particularly people sitting down, not moving around, get cold. And I've been thinking that I'd like to try that sometime too.
Oh, interesting. So is it like a kind of shawl or a
It
wrap?
is almost, yes.
Oh.
If you get a chance, and I can't remember what they're called, if you get a chance, take a look at Pinterest.
Hmm. Something I regularly do. I think it's been quite a revolutionary tool for sharing different craft ideas, especially. Although I was amazed the other day when I realized how many adverts, how many of the posts are adverts. It's
Oh, I
more
know.
than half.
It's
It's
annoying,
it's
very annoying.
extraordinary. I've never seen a site so saturated. Like you can imagine if Instagram or Facebook did that, they would never get away with it. But well, I suppose
No,
they might do nowadays, but yeah, it's just extraordinary, and it seems to have crept up in Pinterest, and we've all just kind of accepted it because the adverts look like real posts.
well, and if you don't watch it, you're touching the wrong thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm not in the right light to thread my needle. I'm rapidly getting to the point where I'm going to have to use a needle threader. Has anyone else had a favorite class? The one that really sticks in my mind, not a class, but there was a live stream yesterday with Anne Cardosa, who's one of our sponsors, and she's a coach. She's a life coach, and she's the empty nest empty nest quilters coach. Have I got those words in the right order? I think so. And she was live coaching 2 people during the live stream. And it was absolutely fascinating because one of them was talking about being a perfectionist. And Anne was kind of peeling back the layers of how much pressure she was putting herself under, like totally without any external like necessity for it. Like no one was judging her or anything like that. So Anne was able to kind of, I think, free her up a bit. And it was resonating so much with other people in the waiting room, sorry, in the chat. And then there was another woman whose husband had bought her a kit. I think it was a Tula Pink kit, quite an involved one. And she hadn't made it, and she'd had it for years and hadn't made it, and was kind of scared of starting it. And Anne went into the reasons for that, and it was just fascinating because I could so relate to both of them and the topics that Anne was talking about. I was really impressed because I've known her a little bit for a while and got to know her more as a sponsor of the event, but I hadn't seen her in action. And it was yeah, genuinely very impressive. In fact, that reminds me, I must draw the winner of because there was a pre-event registration giveaway for one of her courses, and we haven't drawn the winner yet, so I must email her about that later on this afternoon and announce who the lucky person is. Yeah, I guess for me, because I'm familiar with all the classes before the event begins, it's the live streams that bring in the kind of surprise elements. And it's certainly fascinating. I mean, especially I've really loved the mini trunk shows that have been happening where the teachers have just like 15 minutes to talk. And even someone like Lorraine Woodruff Long, who I've known for years because she's a member of my local quilt guild, and knew her pre-pandemic and everything when she was still working full time. But even with her trunk show, there's work that I've not seen and I'm not familiar with, and it's just fascinating hearing her talk about her process and all the different activities she's involved in. Yeah, so that's been a definite bonus for me.
Favorite workshop was the 2 women who free motion quilted. They
Natasha.
were
Natasha.
so positive and lively and really seemed to know their stuff.
They are so funny, those two. Aline is just so like extroverted. And
And
then I
she's that
feel,
way. Is she that way all the time?
yes,
Oh
yes.
my goodness.
And even in their newsletters, you can tell that Aline has written them because the beginning of the newsletter is like, hello, quilters, like lots of exclamation marks and stuff. So even their newsletters are very high energy. And then Natasha is that much more kind of like internal, I guess, and a little bit more not grounded, makes it seem like Aline isn't, but just a little bit more down to earth, not bouncing off the walls. But no, they found out about the event. I don't really know how. I should ask them actually. I think they saw a Facebook ad or something when I did the first one and asked to be involved, and I just had another teacher drop out and kind of said, okay, if you can like get ready in a week, then let's do it. And away they went. And that was the first time, I'm pretty sure that was the first time that they were teaching in English. And it's been fascinating learning about the Brazilian quilting, well, community, I guess, because it's very small. There isn't a Brazilian National Quilt Show or anything like that. It's much more of a casual hobby thing where it does exist. And of course, the climate is not one that encourages a lot of quilts because apart from the temperature, there's also the humidity. which will play havoc with your cottons. Although of course this is a huge country, so there's a lot of variation between them. So yeah, it's fascinating. I had the chance to visit Peru in October last year, and this is a trip I'd wanted to make since I was a teenager to see Machu Picchu. And it was, I was actually amazed. I actually felt, I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in God, and you know, I kind of have various theories in my head about life and death and so on. But to actually be at Machu Picchu, it felt like a spiritual experience. And I don't know if that's because I'd been kind of reading and learning about it and seeing pictures for the last 25 years, and then suddenly it was actually real. And it is so surreal to be up. I think it's like three or 4,000 feet, and there's this whole little town just there. I mean, obviously it's in ruins now, but it's not that ruined. You know, you put a roof back on these places, and the people could move back in tomorrow. So yeah, it was quite amazing to be there. But while I was there, of course, I was looking at the textiles of the different regions, and I made a point of going to a textile museum that was in Lima, in the capital city that we flew into and started our adventures in. And I knew that I wanted to go there. And when I told the guide who was with us about it, she didn't even know the museum that I was talking about. But there's a Japanese family, because there's a lot of Japanese, but people with Japanese heritage living in Peru. And a Japanese man had a textile company and started this museum. I honestly didn't know, because obviously I am aware of tie-dye, and I'm aware of the roots of tie-dye from Japanese shibori techniques. Hello, cat. And she's telling me it's almost lunchtime. She wants me to be ready to go. But I actually teach shibori dyeing, and I'm aware of like stitch shibori and tied shibori and so on. But I had no idea that shibori was simultaneously invented around the world in multiple different communities. I mean, I guess, you know, it's the kind of thing that could easily happen. It's resist dyeing. It's not, you know, once you can kind of see how someone would think, oh, I could tie a piece of string around this and it would make a pattern. But I was fascinating because I was looking at these textiles in this museum thinking, oh, this must be something that the Japanese owner had brought with them. And it's like 2,000 years old, made in Peru. And I was just like, what? You know, how? And it looked, I mean, I'm sure an expert would know that it wasn't Japanese and that the dyes were wrong or something like that. But the pattern, it was the one I'm thinking of was that kind of rice pattern that you get in Japanese shibori, where it's lots of tiny little circles where they've tied the string around a grain of rice. And it was that. And of course, they used grains of corn instead of rice, and it just mind blowing. You know, they say travel expands the mind, and absolutely true. Just the history of textiles in Peru is, yeah, centuries, millennia old.
What
So it was really wonderful to see.
what were the fibers in these 2,000-year-old textiles?
So a lot of it was cotton, some of it was silk. There was also, what is the fiber that I'm trying to think of?
Flax or linen?
Right, yes. It was
Flax.
something, I think it was linen. The really old stuff was linen. And you could kind of see,
Lush.
here we go, the knots and the weaving and so on. Absolutely amazing. I was absolutely gobsmacked, really. Just from the moment I walked in, my jaw was dropped. And it wasn't a huge museum. It was like kind of maybe 3 rooms upstairs and 2 rooms downstairs, and that was it. But yeah, it was, oh, absolutely spectacular. And then of course there's so many other types of textiles, weaving especially, going out into the more kind of Mayan culture, and the different patterns that they used. And one of the things I discovered is that they would make these extremely elaborate costumes that the king would wear, and his queens and so on. But the king would only wear these clothes once, and then they'd be destroyed. And these would be clothes like with gold and stuff on them. And I don't know if they recovered the metals or something, but this is why there's often like a big gap in the textile history, because the really high-end things weren't kept. They were destroyed because the king would have new clothes. You know, it's like, how could you ask him to wear the same thing twice? It's absolutely amazing when you think about it, the work that must have gone into keeping him from becoming a fairy tale with the emperor's new clothes. It's absolutely extraordinary.
And we thought Imelda Marcos was bad for having a new pair of shoes every day and a new bar of very expensive soap for each bath. I remember that.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it's extraordinary when you hear of some of the things that some people just think are normal to do things like that. And then there's that you compare that like with something that I think it was Patty was talking about in one of the talks yesterday about the Japanese like not being able to import textiles for a long time when the trading was cut off, and not being able to have cloth if you were a lower income person, and so needing to start the borrow tradition of like using every possible scrap of cloth in these kind of patchwork garments because it was so valuable. And then you've got someone else who only ever wears something once. It's just yeah, fascinating. It was an amazing trip, absolutely amazing. Although did get bronchitis from the altitude, which wasn't fun, and had to go on oxygen at one point, which was, I just felt like such a tourist at that point. It's just ridiculous. But getting to see Lake Titicaca, I mean, Machu Picchu obviously was a massive highlight, but also just like being in the desert with sand dunes as far as the eye can see, and seeing an oasis and things like that. It was just absolutely astonishing place. I've got a whole list of quilts I want to make as a result of going there, based on different photographs and different textiles and different bits and pieces. And in fact, because I teach the shibori dyeing in San Francisco every other month, I have access to the indigo vats when I make them each time. And so I've got a big pile of fabric I'm intending to take over there, that I've started stitching using the stitched resist patterns rather than just the tied ones. Because the tied ones are great, but of course with the stitched ones, you get a much finer level of detail in them, which is always really interesting. Although it is amazingly time consuming, of course, not only to stitch them, but then to undo the stitching afterwards. Yeah. But it is, oh, sorry, LJ, are you talking? Sorry, you're muted. Don't worry.
Oh, I was just saying, wow. I mean, sounds like an incredible trip, and just all the things you said, I was just like,
and having been there, it's been such a focus for a long time. And I was going to go, and then the pandemic happened, and then I was going to go 2 years ago, and there was a civil uprising kind of situation. And so finally having gone, and I came back, and I was like, I kind of thought, well, that's it. I don't ever need to go anywhere else again. It's like there's nowhere else I wanted to go. That's been my focus for so long.
wow.
Although it's since then I have reconsidered that. I've always wanted to see the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. And I know some of you probably get to see them like every other day in the winter or something, but I've never seen them still, and so I would really love to see those, and I would be very interested to go to Iceland.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah, and it's I think there must be an airline that started flying from the US to Iceland. I don't know, maybe using it as a
Oh,
drop-off point or something. But the flights are not that expensive from the
yep.
US now. And my half sister has been multiple times. She's very active, so she goes over there and like climbs cliffs and rappels down ice
Oh, wow.
packs, and then gets inside a giant inflatable ball and runs across a river and things like that. It's like all the things that I would never in a lifetime dream of doing. But she absolutely loves it, and I love volcanoes, and a good bit of geology is very pleasant. And so yeah, I think that might be my next destination. We've Diane, you've joined us. Wonderful to have you here. Is there a project you're working on that you
Well, actually, I'm just dropping in because I just dropped my sewing machine off at the
Oh,
at the at a store, the sewing machine shop in Walnut Creek or Danville, to get it redone. But I just wanted to say hello and
oh
see
yeah,
what was
hi.
going on. I've been watching videos and I will continue to do that. I'm having a great time.
Brilliant. All right. And you're not that far from me. I'm just in Oakland.
Yeah, I'm in Emeryville.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Lovely.
But I did
Oh,
put up a quilt wall. I just put up a quilt wall. It's kind of in the back over here, way back here. I don't know
oh
if you can see
wow.
it,
Is this your
but
studio?
this is my this is my kitchen living room. But I had a wall and I got some stuff from IKEA. They're like mats that you kids roll on, and covered it with flannel. And I had a friend screw it into the wall. So there are two of those. And so now I have a quilt wall. So that's been my project. I've been motivated.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's brilliant. Yeah,
Mhm.
I would love to have a design wall.
Yeah.
I know you can get those felt tiles. In fact, they sponsored Felt Right, I think it's called, and they sponsored the last event.
Mhm.
In fact, yeah, I should have got in touch with them again actually. But they make they're designed to be sound
Tile. Yeah.
yeah, sound
Mhm.
tiles, felt tiles, but they make wonderful design walls as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
And one day I will
Mhm.
have one. At
I
the moment,
bought a big
sorry, what's that?
piece of, I bought a big piece of the insulation
Mm.
board from Lowe's. And then
Mhm.
I went to Dollar Store and got some picnic tables, covers that had the
Mhm.
felt on the back, and stapled them to them. And then I command hooked them to
Oh,
my
that's
wall.
clever.
So I
Yeah.
created a
That's
wall
clever.
that
So
way.
it's lightweight as well.
Yes, and
So,
movable. I
yeah.
can put it away or turn it around or, yeah.
Mhm.
I saw an Instagram reel yesterday where someone had got just some panels of cardboard, and they made a lot of small pieces. And so they were only like, I don't know, like 1 foot square or something. And they had just taped batting to them,
Mhm.
basically, to have little mini
Mhm.
design walls,
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
which was fascinating. But I noticed that we are on the hour, coming up to the hour. So it's been so delightful to talk to you all, and Diane, to meet you briefly, and
Yes.
LJ, Jessica, Carol, we had Willie and others earlier. Thank you so much for sharing and for keeping me company for the last hour. I've cut out some hexagons and I managed to sew one. So I've definitely done a little bit, I know. But yeah, thank you so much. And there's another live event. The last one is in 4 hours. So
Mhm.
I hope to see some of you there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all.
Great to
Bye.
meet you. Take
Bye,
care. Bye.
Bee.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.